Okay, we're going to be referring a lot to the powered curriculum to create all these parts. Powered curriculum, one of the first things we have to learn how to do from basic technical drawing is how to create a pattern of a truncated prism. And that's on page 415 in basic technical drawing. So File, New, USA Part. Okay. Not really going to be doing a lot of stuff with showing dimensions. I'm just going to be showing you how you go about creating these things. All right? Make sure your origin's on as usual, and you want to make sure your sheet metal's on. If your sheet metal's not on, just right-click somewhere in the menu and turn on your sheet metal from the drop-down menu that shows up. So, pattern of a truncated prism. Page 415, figure 18-6. And this is pretty straightforward. We're going to go to our top view, top plane. We're going to sketch, and we're going to do a center rectangle. From the top view, you can see this is a rectangular type part. So we're going to add some dimensions in here. We'll call it 7 inches long, say 5 inches wide. And you have to look at this and try to figure out where is the break point for this part. And what I mean by that is if you look in here, you're going to see this pattern, but you can see as it unfolds that it breaks at some point. All the other panels are connected. So the bottom, the top, and all the sides. The stretch out line is usually the bottom surface, and it's usually the longest line that everything radiates out from. In this case, it's a parallel line development. And what that means is all these pieces are parallel to each other. Okay? So we're going to go with the assumption that the corner is up here in the upper right. And the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to grab that line and we're going to offset it. Okay? I always go 0.03 inches. I do not select the chain, and I always do go to the inside of the part. So if I zoom in, you can see I'm on the inside. Happy check mark. And the first thing you want to do is grab that line, change it to a construction line, happy check mark it again, and then we got to go into trim and trim to closest, and we're just going to create a little gap, and that's it. And then I go to my ISO. In sheet metal, I'm going to extend this. Okay, so it's going to ask me for a thickness. I always try to make it as thin as possible. 0.01 is usually good for inches. Usually leave the radius alone. 0.029 is decent. And you got to click on direction 1 because it's going to ask you how tall you want this thing. And I want to make it 10 inches. And if I hit the happy check mark, it should create a little bit of a gray box. Okay. And the first thing you want to do, and after every step in sheet metal, you want to get used to this, is you're going to have to unsuppress things. So I'm going to unsuppress this, and it's going to flatten out. Yep, and it turns into a nice flat pattern. So I'm happy with that. Suppress that again. Truncated prism, what that means is you are slicing this thing. Okay, an imaginary knife is going through. So let's go to our front view. We're going to go on our front plane and we're going to sketch on it. And we're just going to create a cutting line at an angle. Okay, so very simple. Okay, and it looks good. Go back to features. We're going to cut this. Over here on the left is normal cut checked on, and sometimes it's checked off. In sheet metal, it changes. Sometimes it's checked on, sometimes it's checked off. And it'll affect how you're able to use further pieces of the part. It just comes with experience. So if something's not working, try to go back, maybe turn normal cut off, and things will work fine. Sometimes you have to turn it on to make things work fine. Okay, there's not a set precedence of how you go about doing certain things. So we hit the happy check mark, and now it's truncated. Okay, and a knife went through, cut that off, done. Let's see if we can unsuppress this. Okay, so it's unfolding just like in the picture. So if I go to my front view, you can see it's all unfolded the correct way. If I bring that picture up again. See again, little square tab, angled piece, larger rectangle, angled piece, and that's what we have so far. Don't have the top and the bottom because we haven't created them yet. Let's suppress that again. Okay, and go back to the ISO. And we need to create the lid. So I think it's from this edge. So we're going to grab an edge. Okay. And we're going to go into here and we're going to create a tab. So you're going to see how it's going to bend over, but you want to grab the third one over because you want it to be above the surface. And as I stretch this out, we'll see if we chose the right one. And you can do blind or to a vertex. I always go to a vertex and I pick up the point and see how it's going to bring it right over to the very outside edge of the part. Now let's hit the happy check mark. And let's flatten this quick. And we'll see if we pick the right edge. Let's see. So if we refer to our book again, and I go to my front view, again, the original pattern, and then that tab, okay, which is what we have here now. So that's good. Like I said, you got to get used to suppressing and unsuppressing to check things because sheet metal will mess with you. So you want to be prepared for it doing that. Okay, so we know that we came from this edge over to create this top, and it should be this back edge here that's going to create our bottom. So let's zoom in again. We're going to use the edge flange, grab the inside edge. It's already selected on the third choice, so it's going to be bent over the top. And you rotate it a little, zoom in, see the corner, and you want to go up to a vertex again. Okay, and the happy check mark. And if I go to my ISO, what I should be able to do is unsuppress this. Okay, and one last check. There's the flat pattern. And if we go to the book again, the flat pattern matches everything we just did. Okay. Now, when you go in to your SOLIDWORKS drawings, you have to create the flat pattern and also your three views, your top, front, right, or maybe auxiliary views, things like that. It all depends on what we're looking for. So let's open up drawing quick. And we'll do a new drawing. And we'll do, let's see, A size, what do we have here? A size landscape, USA. That'll be big enough. Okay. Let's go back in and we're going to save this part quick. I'm just going to throw it on my desktop. And it's a truncated prism. I'm just going to call it TP. Sounds good to me. And we're going to go back in here and we are going to grab TP and we're going to bring it in. So you can bring it in as a bunch of different things. I'm going to bring it as a flat pattern. Let's see what we have. Okay, so there's a flat pattern. And that's the way it's supposed to look. Okay, for your truncated prism. So you have your stretch out line again, which is the original line. It's the longest line there. And then down here in the bottom, if you click on sheet, you can add a sheet. Or you should be able to add a sheet. So let's do A size landscape again. So now I have sheet 1, has this, sheet 2, currently has nothing. And I'm going to insert a drawing view from a model. It's going to be from TP. Alright, let's see now. It might be giving my current thing, okay, which is the flat pattern, which is not what we want. So what we can do is we can go back to this. Let's suppress this. Okay. Let's go back here, and this is okay. Let's go to sheet 2. Now we have this here. Let's refresh this just quick. A little bit of a problem. Let's just delete the whole thing. Let's do it one more time. It's insert drawing view from model. Okay. So there. Now I have my top, front, right side, and my ISO. This should be what your second sheet looks like. And if it's from the book, there should be some dimensions. So you're going to do your basic overall dimensions, whatever it was. Okay. Alright, so we have all these, and then we're also going to need a width. Okay. And since we know there's always supposed to be two dimensions in a drawing or in a view, so there's for these, and we're going to throw the overall height over here. Okay. And another thing they may want to know is you're going to have to do an auxiliary view, which we have studied by now. And we are going to do view layout. An auxiliary view is going to ask you to select the edge, so it's going to be right here. Okay. And we are going to, if it's not going to let you move it, you have to go in and the alignment, you're going to break that alignment. Okay, now I can move it around. Remember, the A's go with where it came from, so it's giving you the direction. Okay, so it's pointing to that surface. And the annotation for it is it. Okay, and the only other thing is when you get in here, you need to do true shape and size. Okay, so you're going to have a repeat of this dimension here, and to get away with being able to do that dimension is you put it in parentheses. Okay, so now it's just a reference dimension, and the real dimension you want is the one down here. Let's see if we can get a little more room here. Remember, CAD is a little bit of artistic artwork to make sure everything's clear. And there's your finished drawing. So I have my isometric showing it's all closed. Some of the overall dimensions, they're very basic. I don't need the angle or anything because it usually gives you a height at two ends of where you're going to make that cut. And then if I go back to sheet 1, I have my flat pattern. Okay, and that gives me all of that. And that is it for a truncated prism.